because technology is moving so quickly, it's really a moving target. And audiences know what they like today and the way they'd like to see or hear it, but they may not know tomorrow. And so that's why it's a guessing game and a kind of a nightmare for those who need to invest in these things.
How many Trump scripts are being floated around Hollywood right now?
I haven't seen one yet, but I'm still hoping the outcome of all this yields a really hilarious Broadway musical and not an American tragedy.
You played Winthrop in The Music Man.
Right.
Would you ever take a role in a primetime live musical?
No, because I can't sing. Somehow they thought it was cute to have little Ronnie Howard, singing off key. But I could lisp, but I couldn't sing, and I still can't.
Do you watch movies on your phone?
I don't watch movies on my phone. I will review dailies of my own show or movie because I know what it's supposed to look like. But for me, and I absorb a lot of content on my phone, I don't watch feature-length movies that way.
Are you beginning to think about how a finished film, will look on a phone?
I have never worried about what format the movie or the television show was going to be on, because when I was a kid, dying to become a director, I watched the classic John Ford Grapes of Wrath on a tiny little black and white television set, and I was moved by it. And of course it was framed for the big screen, but I realized that a great image is a great image, and a great composition works on any format.
So if I were to ask you if you could put a project on Netflix or in theaters or on broadcast TV, it's not a fair question.
It depends on the project. It depends on the project. If I have something that's a single viewing experience that I think maybe has a sequel potential, it's extremely visual, you need a larger budget, then you better be able to justify a theatrical release and hope for that big box office. If you have a film that you feel can be made very inexpensively, but is a high concept and may compel people to go out to the theaters, or may wind up in the award season race, that may be another argument for going theatrical first. So, but if you're in another place where you just want to make sure a lot of people are going to see this story, and you don't want to risk, the challenges of theatrical exhibition, well, if you have a home like a Netflix or Amazon, or HBO or Showtime, and you can tell your story there and make sure a lot of people see it, then that becomes a fantastic option. So it goes on, and all of the executives, the best of them, are getting to be very good at being able to articulate the thematics that they think their audience responds to, what their brand suggests, so that by being with that company, you're actually saying a little something extra to audiences.
Example
you're adding something to the promise. Well, again, National Geographic and Albert Einstein. I mean, that's a great fit. If we were on HBO or Showtime, we would have worked just as hard. We would have had the same amount of money to work with and all of it. But I'm proud of the work, so I think if people saw it, they'd enjoy it. But the promise of Albert Einstein's life seen on National Geographic just suggests a little something more.
We talk a lot about Apple getting into original content. Have you had discussions with them about that?
I think everybody has had informal conversations at events and so forth with people from Apple and agents who've had meetings and so forth. So everybody knows that there are conversations going on.
After Fox canceled Arrested Development, you took it to Netflix. Did it feel like a big bet at the time?
Netflix really wanted Arrested Development, and I was very excited to carry on, but the cast was already growing at such a point that they really didn't want to make the commitment, and it would have been reduced budget, reduced fees for everybody to have taken that step. So it was just a business decision made by the people involved with the show.
Are you aware of this legend that Reed Hastings got the idea for Netflix after racking up late fees on an Apollo 13 rental?
No, I don't know about that, but I do know that Ted Sarandos tracked me down at a Super Bowl party and said, you know, our Netflix users really watch a lot of Arrested Development. Do you think there's any chance of doing more episodes? And that was the beginning of the first reboot, and we're still working on our second. Here's what I discovered. I was finishing up the editing of the Beatles documentary as I was just prepping the actual directing of the first episode of Genius about Albert Einstein. And I thought, oh my gosh, we just did the second interviews with Ringo and Paul. They went deeper than before, and we were beginning to shape sort of the final storyline of the movie and focus on the themes. And I said, wait a minute. These young guys trusted their principles. They trusted their perception of what was right and what was wrong, whether that was artistic or in their personal or political lives, right? And the reason they're great is because it turned out they were right more than they were wrong, and they were willing to take chances. But they didn't understand why you wouldn't take a chance, because their instincts were calling to them to go deeper, to explore the unknown of that medium.
VR.
Right.
A bunch of films at Tribeca Film Festival are being backed by big names.
Yeah.
Is that going to work?
Well, VR is going to work. It's whether it's how it's going to work narratively. And it's still, you know, we're still not sure. And there's a lot of imagine entertainment is a part of this conversation and experimentation. But it's going to boil down to creative people have got to play with it and work with it. And I think the companies know that. And, you know, so it's still all a little gray and unknown, but there's no question that it's already can be an entertaining experience, and yet the sort of the storytelling components, the sort of what the promise that you have, that the storyteller has with the audience member, the user, is not fully established yet. And
because the user can look wherever they want?
No. That's going to wind up being the good news. That's going to be part of what's exciting about it. But because there just hasn't been enough of it done yet for audiences to be able to say, here's what I really like and here's where I struggle, and for the storytellers themselves to have really had enough experience with it.
You said last year that when doing Splash, you thought Hanks had no shot in hell of being greenlit by the studio.
Right.
And then you got to tell him when he got the gig.
I got to call him up. Well, we were in a race with a movie that was an A+ studio mermaid movie. It was supposed to star Jessica Lange, you know, at sort of in her late 20s, you know. It was going to star Warren Beatty, who was the leading man of the moment, and we had this great audition tape for this young guy from a sitcom, Tom Hanks, who was on Bosom Buddies, who I totally believed in creatively, and so did Brian, and he convinced him to go for it, and so that was a bit of Brian Grazer magic.
Do you remember actually delivering the good news?
Oh yeah, I called him and from a payphone. I was so excited, didn't have a cell phone yet, wasn't quite around yet. Pulled over in my VW Bug and jumped out and tracked him down. I was so excited the minute I left the meeting where we got the word that I could cast him. I knew he'd be excited, and you know, it was the beginning of a great collaboration and friendship too.
Hey CNBC fans, I'm Carl Quintanilla. Thanks for watching CNBC's Binge on YouTube. You can subscribe by clicking right here, Watch all of our interviews on the changing media landscape. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch more from CNBC. Thanks for watching.